Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Eric Skwarczynski, and as many of you know, I host the Preacher Boys podcast, which is a podcast dedicated to shedding light on abuse within the independent fundamental Baptist movement. And while I definitely focus in on that niche, I want to talk about a couple resources that are going to be helpful to any parent, youth leader, pastor who's seeking to prevent abuse. Because a lot of times in cases of abuse, molestation, rape, we always are looking back at what went wrong instead of looking forward to see how can we prevent this stuff from happening, how can we identify some of the tactics that are used by predators, how can we help kids kind of tell us things that are happening, going on. So I want to just go over 3 books that have been very helpful to me when it comes to understanding this issue, and as well as one that's a kid's book that'll kind of walk you through how to talk to your kids about this tough subject. So in just a second, we're going to go ahead and get started talking through 3 books to help prevent abuse in your church, your home, and your school. All right, guys, here we go. Number 1 is On Guard by Deepak Raju. This is a super fast read, but it's super practical. They include links to products that your church can use to keep your church safe, check-in and check-out systems. They even include pictures and blueprints for how to lay out different things within your church and your nursery. So they walk through how to have multiple exits, what kind of doors to use, what kind of camera systems to use. They lay out how to identify predators. They talk about how to implement a child protection policy that walks you through how you can create a system that is safe for the volunteers, safe for the children, and gives the parents peace of mind. So if you're a pastor, youth pastor, or even a parent who wants to ask good questions to the youth leaders at your church, pick up a copy of On Guard by Deepak Raju. It's a really good book, endorsed by a lot of huge pastors who have very large ministries that have done a good job with this stuff. So On Guard is one for sure. Next up is Men 2. Men 2 is written by my friend, Dr. Kelly Palfy. She's been on the show before, and it's called Men 2, Unspoken Truths About Male Sexual Abuse. And this book does a really good job really explaining why men struggle specifically to come forward. And so she talks about the pressure on male youth, kind of the toxic masculinity culture that kind of puts an umbrella over the chances for men to report abuse. She talks through kind of the psychology of what it's like to be a victim, how to respond to people, how to talk to people. And then she really dives into the grooming process, and she talks to people who've been abused and really looks for the common traits that happened and how the predators foster this sense of trust with their victims. So if you're a parent, especially of a teenage boy or even a preteen boy, Men 2 is an amazing book to pick up. And same, if you're a pastor, this is just a good book and a good resource to have and have your team read to really understand that, like what questions to ask and how to go from there. And just some amazing stuff throughout here. This is one stat that really blew me away. There was a statistic that said in 2014, fewer than 5 out of every 1,000 men actually report being assaulted. So when we see statistics about sexual assault, the male statistics are often much lower than they probably are within reality. And then lastly, the one that I wanted to bring up is specifically for children. It's by Justin and Lindsay Holcomb. It is called God Made All of Me. And this is an amazing book. Again, I know every parent and kid is different, so the age at which you introduce them is going to be a little bit different. But it's just an excellent book. I would say probably about 5 would be a really good age to do this. Our daughter's not quite old enough where I feel like she could go through the whole book. But it talks to the difference of, healthy touch when it comes to doctors, when it comes to, when parents can do certain things. It walks through like understanding private parts. It understands, one thing I love that it breaks down is it breaks down the danger of keeping secrets. Because like I said, one of the main things that a lot of predators do when they're grooming a child is they foster a sense of secretness, foster a sense of trust between the two of them. And this book really breaks down just some warning signs. It's basically like an anti-grooming manual for kids. And so I definitely recommend God Made All of Me. It's an amazing book. And I'm going to throw out one bonus. So I already mentioned Men Too with Kelly Palfy and how helpful that book is. But if you want a real deep dive into the mind of a predator and what predators actually are like and what they actually do and what their goals are, you're definitely going to want to pick up a book called Predators by Anna C. Salter. Sorry. And it's just a really phenomenal book to understand the mind of people who assault sexually. This is an amazing section from the book here. I have it underlined. It says, buy all the guns you want, but guns will not likely help you. Sex offenders only very rarely sneak into a house in the middle of the night. More often they come to the front door in the day as friends and neighbors, as Boy Scouts, leaders, priests, principals, teachers, doctors, and coaches. They're invited to our homes time after time, and we give them permission to take our children on overnight camping trips, the basketball game, or down to the Salvation Army post for youth activities. We give permission because we don't recognize these people as predators, because we think sex offenders are monsters, and surely we'd recognize a monster, wouldn't we? That nice young minister who runs all the youth programs, the one with the crooked smile and the thatch of brown hair over his brow, the one who visits the elderly and gives the poor money from his own funds, surely not him. He could not be a child molester with 90 victims while he's still in his 20s. That good, polite young man who just wants to see the motorcycle for sale in the backyard. Surely he couldn't be a rapist with a knife in his hip pocket, waiting for you to turn your back to pull the cover off. I sit in rooms with such men, and they tell me their side of the story. They tell me what you don't see, about the thoughts and feelings and hungers that drive them. They tell me how they operate and how they got away with assaults for so long. They tell me how they make assessments of people like you and me. I get to see sometimes the face we don't see in public. And so this book is an amazing peek behind the curtain. It's a heavy read for sure. It features actual interviews with people who are predators who have assaulted. And it's an actually just a really, really amazing book. So anyway, just wanted to recommend that to you guys, and just recommend a couple books that I thought would be helpful. And as we try to keep kids safe, obviously lately from COVID, we also want to keep kids safe when it comes to abuse. And as we start getting back to in-person gatherings at a lot of locations, we want to make sure that we do the absolute best we can to keep the most vulnerable in our society safe. So pick up these books and start researching today. If you guys want to get quick links to all these books, they're in the description of this video. Go ahead and click over there, and you can find all the books I just mentioned over on Amazon. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video, but I'll see you next time.